There is a small town in Germany called Herzogenaurach. Population 40,000. Unremarkable in almost every way. Except for one thing. For decades, if you walked into a bar in Herzogenaurach and ordered a drink, the first thing the bartender would do before serving you was look down at your feet. Not to check if you were wearing shoes. To check which shoes you were wearing. Because in Herzogenaurach you were either an Adidas person or a Puma person. And those were not just brand preferences. They were declarations of loyalty. They determined which side of the town you lived on, which butcher you used, which church you sat in, which team you supported, who you married. Two brothers had a fight in 1948, and that fight split an entire town in half for the next 50 years. One brother built Adidas, the other built Puma. Together, they would have been the most powerful sportswear company in human history. Instead, they spent the rest of their lives trying to destroy each other. And the World Cup is being played right now in boots made by both of them. This is the story of the Dassler brothers, and it is the most expensive family fight in the history of sport. Adolf Dassler, known as Adi, was born in 1900 in Herzogenaurach, Germany. His older brother Rudolf was born in 1898. Their father was a shoemaker. Their mother ran a laundry. The family was modest, and the town was small, and the years after World War I were hard for everyone in Germany. Adi was obsessed with sport and obsessed with shoes. He believed that the right shoe, the perfectly designed shoe, could make an athlete faster. Not by much, by enough. In 1920, Adi began making sports shoes in his mother's laundry room, by hand, with whatever materials he could find, including tires from Allied Army vehicles for the Sauls. Rudolf joined him. The two brothers built their company together, Gebruder Dassler, out of a laundry room in a small German town during one of the most economically desperate periods in modern European history. And they were extraordinary at it. Because Adi genuinely understood what made a shoe work, and Rudolf genuinely understood what made a shoe sell. In 1936, the Olympic Games came to Berlin. Adolf Hitler wanted the Games to demonstrate the superiority of the Aryan race. Adi Dassler had a different agenda. He traveled to the Olympic Village, on his own, uninvited, carrying a suitcase of shoes, and persuaded Jesse Owens to wear them. Jesse Owens was the black American sprinter who was about to embarrass the Nazi regime in front of the entire watching world. He won 4 gold medals. In Dassler shoes, the photographs went everywhere. The brand that had been invisible outside Herzogenaurach suddenly had the most famous feet on the planet wearing its product. One conversation, one suitcase of shoes, one athletes for gold medals. The Dassler brothers' laundry room company had just become the most talked about sports shoe brand in the world, and Adi and Rudolf were still building it together. For now. World War II destroyed almost everything. The factory was bombed. The brothers were called up. Their relationship, which had always been competitive beneath the surface, began to crack under the pressure of the war years. The exact cause of the split has never been fully confirmed. The most repeated story is this. One night during an Allied bombing raid, Adi and his wife took shelter in a bunker already occupied by Rudolf and his wife. As Adi entered, he said, "The dirty bastards are back again." He meant the Allied bombers. Rudolf believed he meant Rudolf and his wife. That misunderstanding, or that specific cruelty, depending on which side of the river you believed, was never repaired. By 1948, the two brothers had not spoken in years. They divided the company. Adi took the shoe machinery. Rudolf took the workforce. Adi kept the name Dassler. He called his new company Adi Dassler, Adidas. Rudolf crossed the river and built his factory on the other side. He called his company Ruda, then changed it. He called it Puma. Herzogenaurach divided along the Aurach River. Adidas north, Puma south. The employees of each company lived on their side, shopped on their side, drank on their side. The town became known as the town of bent necks, because everyone walked with their head down checking what shoes strangers were wearing before deciding whether to acknowledge them. Marriages between Adidas families and Puma families were considered controversial. Local football teams split. The Catholic Church and the Protestant Church aligned with different companies. Even the workers' social clubs were separated by brand. For decades, nobody crossed the invisible line without consequence. Adi and Rudolf never spoke again. Their factories were 300 meters apart. They could see each other's buildings from their office windows. They were separated by 300 meters and by something that 300 kilometers would not have been enough to fix. From 1948 onward, Adi and Rudolf were no longer brothers building a company together. They were enemies funding a global war through sport. Every World Cup, every Olympics, every major athlete on the planet became a battleground between Adidas and Puma. The 1954 World Cup, West Germany beat Hungary in the final. The West German team wore Adidas boots with screw-in studs, Adi's technical innovation that gave his team traction on a wet pitch when the Hungarians slipped. Germany won. Adidas won. Puma lost. The 1970 World Cup, Pelé stopped the match before kickoff to tie his laces. In front of a global television audience of 1 billion people. The cameras cut to his feet. He was wearing Puma. Rudolf had negotiated that lace tying specifically, paid Pelé $120,000 for a lace tie. It worked, because 1 billion people watched it. Every tournament, every athlete, every gold medal. A family argument played out across the biggest sporting stages on Earth. Adi Dassler died in 1978. Rudolf Dassler died in 1974. Neither of them ever reconciled. They are buried in the same cemetery in Herzogenaurach, as far apart as the grave plots allow. Today, Adidas is worth more than $30 billion. It is the second largest sportswear company in the world. It sponsors more World Cup national teams than any other brand. Today, Puma is worth more than $8 billion. It sponsors some of the fastest athletes on Earth. At every World Cup tournament since 1954, both companies have had boots on the pitch simultaneously. The brothers who built their first shoes in their mother's laundry room in a small German town are now represented on every major sporting stage on Earth. Every time two players challenge for the ball, one in Adidas boots, one in Puma boots, the Dassler brothers are competing again. They never stopped. In 2009, 61 years after the split, the children and grandchildren of Adi and Rudolf Dassler did something their fathers and grandfathers never managed. The employees of Adidas and Puma played a friendly football match against each other in Herzogenaurach. Adidas players in Adidas boots, Puma players in Puma boots, on the same pitch, in the same town. For the first time in 6 decades, people from both sides of the river stood in the same space and played the same game. It was not a merger. It was not a reconciliation of the families. The personal wounds ran too deep for that. It was simply two groups of people who had inherited a war deciding they were tired of it. The town of bent necks straightened up, slightly, for one afternoon. The brothers never saw it, but the town did, and that was something. The FIFA World Cup is being played right now. Somewhere on that pitch, there are Adidas boots and Puma boots competing against each other. Adi and Rudolf Dassler started in the same laundry room. They made shoes from the same scraps of leather. They watched Jesse Owens win 4 gold medals in shoes they built together. And then one sentence, misheard or deliberate, depending on who you believed, ended everything. 2 brothers, 2 companies, 2 global empires born from one argument that was never resolved. The most expensive family fight in the history of sport. If you love this story, subscribe to Zero to Toon, because every week we bring you the real stories behind the world's greatest empires. Some start in garages. Some start in laundry rooms. Some start with a word said in a bomb shelter in 1943 that neither brother ever took back. Your story might be next.